Welcome to the Digital Chair by Salon Monster, the podcast for indie beauty pros and salon owners who'd rather be themselves than follow the rules. I'm your host, Liam, and this week we'll be talking with Erica Garza about mentorship, simple systems, and boundaries for sustainable client-building careers. Well, I'm here with Erica Garza. Welcome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do in the industry?
Oh, wow. So I live now in Seattle, Washington, and I get excited about that because I grew up in Tri-Cities, and we were just talking earlier in Eastern Washington, and I feel like the little small town girl, like who had big dreams of doing hair in the city. I remember being like 7, and my mom always used to take me to Seattle, like for, spring break or a little vacation or, good grades, that kind of thing. And I remember like looking around and just getting starstruck. And I always said in my head, if I can ever do hair like in the city, I know I made it. So literally 6 months ago, I'm doing hair, and I still do hair in a salon. I have a corporate position with a company, a big company that I love so much in the education department. But throughout the years, I've done different things. But I remember I still work at night in the salon. I still work on the weekend. And I remember I'm like doing a blowout and just kind of like daydreaming. And it hit me. You're doing hair in the city, like right by the Space Needle. You can't get any more Seattle than that. Yeah. I made it. So I kind of feel like I get to put a check mark by like a childhood dream, and it makes me happy. But yeah, I've been doing hair 30 years. I was doing the math, and I was like, I've been doing hair longer than some of the stylists that I meet on a everyday basis. Like I've been doing hair longer than they've been alive. And that's like, whoa, where did time go? So 30 years in the industry. I started in my hometown at a little beauty school that's now actually a dress shop. And so it's kind of like cool to go down there and see everything involved. I worked for a big chain that was like my first experience behind the chair. And, you just do the chain life. And then I remember I met like all these other people who didn't work for the chain, and they like leased. And I'm like, what is leasing all about? And I learned what self-employment was all about after I had kids. And I mean, I kind of went back and forth. Sometimes I was commissioned stylist. Sometimes I was a leaser, business owner. Sometimes I just like wanted to do hair in the kitchen. So for COVID, we got to do that a little bit and experience what that was like. And then I'm like, yeah, I like the salon culture much better. So I kind of like, I think as someone, I get bored sometimes. And so I kind of want to be like, well, what is like there? But there's a few things that I love about our industry altogether. It's like we get to express our creativity, and ours is through hair, but we touch people. We get to talk to people. I'm really big with the heart. I think if I didn't do hair, I would want to be a counselor or some type of therapist, and I would be first in line to get it first.
Yep. Yes.
Give it back in return. And so I like the connections with my clients that I've made and that I've kept for lots and lots of years, and then some are brand new, and it just kind of fills me. So when I'm doing hair, like actually blow drying, I like to think about, like, wow, this client's come a long way, baby. Or, wow, I've come a long way. And like just sharing stories and stuff. So it fills me. And that's my favorite part about what we do. But right now I work for a company, and I get to be in the regional education department or education department. I'm a regional manager. So I get to work with other contract artists, freelancers, and people who represent the brand. But really, they get to show what they love, and they get to use their favorite color brand. And I get to work with them and salons like that. And that like fills my cup. And that's how I met my friend Annie, who actually knows you. And I was looking at her social media like I always do. And she had, shared something with Salon Monster. I was like, oh, what's this? And I'm like, you're just so super cool. And I was looking through your page, and I like to stalk, like I'll go way back, like 100 pictures back. I'm a stalker. And I was looking, I'm like, this is really cool. And it just seemed like a great person. And I'm glad that we could connect and talk, because that's what it's all about too.
Me too.
I like
love it. Yeah, we're big fans of Annie and Aaron.
Yes.
We followed them for years before we actually connected with them. And it's
been
such a treat getting to work with them. They're even nicer and cooler than we thought. And we thought they were super nice and cool.
No, it's cool to meet. Like, I get I've always been this way. I get a little starstruck, you know? You watch
Yeah.
like celebrities on social media or people who have like
Hmm.
more than 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm
like,
with you.
wow, you know, the hair nerds, that's so cool. And I had heard about the hair nerds, you know, a few years ago and never met them. And then, you know, working with contacts and being with salon owners and then actually meeting. And I'll never forget, like, Douglas McCoy, House of Pop, you know, he introduced me. He's like, this is Annie, and she's part of the hair nerds. And I'm like, no way. Like, it hit me. Oh my God, I get to meet these people in person. And then, yeah.
Right.
So it's just great. And now that I know Annie and Aaron, it's like, I can't wait. My dream, my next thing I want to check off that list, you know, like I made it a Japan trip with the hair nerds.
Oh,
They're
I
there right
know.
now.
Oh,
Yeah.
it
We
looks
should be
so
there.
good. I know. I want to go
What are
there
we
more than
doing?
anywhere. I
We
met with
should be there.
I met up with them in New York in March,
You did.
and they took me to the Hairbrain Video Awards, and I felt the same way of the starstruck thing. There was a bunch
Yeah.
of people in the room that I knew only from social media. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, that's Andy does your hair, and
Dude, yes.
there's there's Mari and just a bunch of people I follow and really like. Yeah, it was a treat.
Oh, I get like that. It's really cool. Like, you know, when you talk to people like we're doing now, they're stylists that grew up in a little town too. They had dreams too. Like, I'm sure they have their list of like, when I get to do this and this and this, I'll know I've made it. And I feel like that feeling, it's common with a lot of us. It just feels really good to connect with people who have that same love and are still here. Because so
Yeah.
many people, they don't last. You know, 30
No.
years in an industry. You
Yeah.
know, they're selling houses or cars, and that's awesome. But you know, and I thought about that too. There's a few times where I'm like, maybe I should sell Mercedes instead. This is hard.
It.
You know.
I've thought about being a mail carrier, driving
Yeah.
buses, all of these. Oh, it has a salary and you get a retirement pension. I
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
the
I'm glad
hustle
I'm very
does.
blessed I found that. But
Yeah,
you know.
yes, I know. Within the industry, that is amazing.
Yeah.
There's, yeah, it's a hard thing to find. The hustle does get exhausting sometimes. I've been self-employed as a hairdresser as well as this for 21 years, doing hair for 26. And
Yeah.
yeah, the hustle sometimes gets exhausting.
I know. You know what's funny? Did you experience this too? Like, when I was in my 20s, we never talked about self-care. I
No.
didn't know what that phrase. I'd never heard that phrase until, you know, a few years ago, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I remember I walk in salons and it's so cool because I see stylists who are young and brand new in the industry, and they're wearing, you know, sneakers and they look great, and they're, you know, they're wearing comfortable clothing, and they're wearing clothing that doesn't restrict them or bind them in any way. Like, they get to be them and they get to perform on their clients and, you know, build their relationships and do their cool hair. I remember it wasn't like that for me when I was in my 20s starting out, especially with the company. You know, we had a dress code and we had to wear slacks or heels or dresses
Hmm.
or, you know, some type of dress attire, you know, and I'm like, you know, there I am, on, you know, cement floors from age 20 to like 37 wearing heels, and like my feet hate me today. My feet
Yes.
hate, they are paying me back in full. Trust me.
Yep.
But I remember thinking like, I remember specifically in dress codes, it would say no sneakers allowed, or you
Yeah.
would get sent home. You get
Yes.
sent home to change, and, you know, please put on something more professional. And so I think it's really great that people are taking better care of themselves at a
Totally.
younger age, because I'm telling you right now, the self care thing, I wish I would have started 30 years ago.
Oh, what a difference it would make.
I know, but it's important. And like, I've been self employed the majority of my career.
Hmm.
And it's like, you know, we take care of our clients and we take care of our salon space. We take care of our accounting or you know, inventory,
Yep.
our budget. And then we take care of our family when we go home, or our dog or our cat or whatever, our pets, and then our people in our circle. And then we go to bed. And then we hit repeat and
Oh,
repeat and repeat. And I never really like took care of myself. So I think that's why, like, looking back, I think therapy, counseling,
yes.
some type
Yes.
of mental health. We couldn't even say that word or that phrase. It was
No.
kind of taboo, you know?
Totally.
Um, so
We
I
were.
love where
We
our
were.
industry is
Me too.
right
We
now.
were other people's mental health. It
Yeah, we
wasn't
were.
about us. We were their mental health day.
We have all the secrets, all of them.
Absolutely. For me, it wasn't until I dropped down to 4 days a week that it became easier to do. It was the first time I realized, oh, maybe I don't have to do this 6 days a week,
Yeah.
10 hours a day. Maybe I don't have to fit everyone in. And it made me love my job even more because there are times where if you do it too much, you get a little burnt out. And I didn't find I did my best work. So it was actually when it started affecting the work that I produced that I made the change, not when it took a toll on me personally.
Yeah, I
But
did that too. My blowout started not looking so great.
yeah, oh
Color
yeah,
placement was slipping.
yep,
No, but you get exhausted. I learn a lot from, I feel like, I don't know what to say. They're not kids. They're not young people. I learn a lot from this generation, I guess I
yeah.
could say. I sound so old now, but
No, I know what you mean.
they have self-care in mind. They have themselves in mind. And they put restrictions on, I'm sorry, I'm booked. I can book you for some other day, and they're nice
Yes,
about it, but they hold their boundaries. And I admire that. I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh, I need to be like that more in my life, like for real." How do you do
It's
that?
it's such a good idea. Practice. I mean, I guess each generation maybe gets better at it if you're lucky
Yeah.
enough to be surrounded by people. I know my friend Britt, who it's going to be hard to see her, but she works in my chair the day I'm not doing hair, or the days I'm
Nice.
not doing hair, and she finished hair school last year sometime, and it's one of the things I sort of was trying to help mentor a little bit and worked
Oh,
on with her was just set your boundaries immediately. Just build your clientele around your boundaries.
what a
You'll be so much
concept.
charged properly out the gate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's not an easy thing. Did you come through a hair school or an apprenticeship?
No, I did. So I go through the hair school. I went through the local beauty college. It was called Claire's Beauty College, and
Of
and
course
it
it
was
was.
cool because I met some really great people there. And the only thing is, I think I was like 18 at the time, and I remember looking back. I like was late every Monday, left early every Friday, skipped every Wednesday, so it took me a little longer to get through. And I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you, like I went to beauty school as like a fallback because
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't really know what I wanted to do, and it seemed fun. And I remember my aunt, she was a hairdresser, and my aunt, her name was Sandra. She was the most beautiful tia I had. She passed away a few years ago, but so incredibly beautiful. She always was best dressed. She always had heels on, big hair, just gorgeous. And she always had cash in her pocket. And she
Yeah.
always had the ladies, because her husband, my tío, he built like a little studio in her home. And she used to work at J.C. Penney back in the 70s, and
Yes.
then built a studio in her home. So all the ladies would come to the house. Now I'm like 5, at my aunt's house or after school, whatever. And I wanted to hear all the chisme, all the gossip. They were
Mm,
talking, they were having fun. She'd make them coffee. They'd have tamales and little treats. And,
mm.
it was just like this fabulous time. It reminds me of Still Magnolias. It really was like that.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Totally.
And I remember she always had cash in her pocket, and I was just thought she was rich. So I
Yeah.
wanted to be like her. But I went to the local beauty school, and I didn't know what an apprenticeship program was.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there aren't
and
many of them.
yeah, and no one told us, like, these are the options that you could have. This is what I remember hearing. You can lease, or you can go work for the chain in the mall. But my teacher was like, Erica, don't lease. You'll starve. You'll never make any money your first year. You need to go work for the chain. And I'm like, okay. So I
Yeah.
made a little resume and then applied, and I went to work for the chain. And I was actually with them for like my first 3 years of my career. Um, and I learned systems. That's where I learned like
Yeah.
the art of systems, the art of
Yes.
booking. And you know what, really, that's where I learned how to sell retail. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my first job was in the mall, at age
Yeah.
like 16 and a half and stuff. But I applied the retail skills, and I learned how to like systematically and intentionally position retail, where in the service, um, what is an open, what is you do the service, and then how do you close out the service? Not just like, do you need anything? Okay,
Mhm.
bye. Like there's intention behind it. And when I look back now, I'm like, those are some pretty impactful systems that stay with me. I didn't at 19 know what I was, just selling product, but it's like
Yeah.
there's a reason for that, and I still utilize that today. So even though, like, looking back, I wish I would have done things different, but I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
No, you
And
don't.
so I went to the chain, and then I got pregnant with my son, And I remember people were like, you should lease, then you could be around your baby more. And I'm like, really? You can do that? And I found this really cool. We were living in the Dalles, Oregon, of all places, like this tiny little town. And at the time, my son's dad, my husband at the time, he was a logger. So it was perfect. Like he worked for the big logging company. And I found this tiny space right on like Main Street and Second. And I think it was maybe like 500 square feet. And I just was like, oh my God, I could put a little studio in here. And I remember I called the company, on the sign. And the guy was so cool. He goes, honestly, we've moved to Portland. How's 200 a month sound? And I went, for the space? Is that like how much utilities? He's like, for everything.
For the keys?
And I remember I said, do you know how much water I'm going to use? Like, just so you know, like, how many blow dryers and things I'm going to have plugged in? He goes, it's 200 a month. I said, deal. And I remember thinking, like, if it wouldn't have been for that little, I couldn't have had, my own space, like, right out of, having a baby and only 3 years in the industry. But it worked for me. And I hustled out of that little place. I made some good money there. I kind of want to go back, especially at that rent.
It's such an interesting thing. I've been talking to Annie and to my business partner Stephen about wanting to put a video series together about how to build your clientele, how to get busy, how to be self-employed. And Britt, my sweet mate here, she went straight to self-employment. Like I convinced her to go right to self-employment.
Wow.
But I knew she cut my hair. I knew she was good at cutting hair, but we both know that talent doesn't equal success. Like there's like a vague correlation between the two of them, but not really. Like the most successful hairdressers I know aren't the best hairdressers I know. The best hairdressers I know are in tax difficulties. Do you know what I mean? Like it just seems like this is like you can be good at one or the other. It's hard to be good at both. And she's a hustler. And I said that to her. I said, being good's great.
Yeah.
You will enjoy being good at it. And you will be good with time. But hustling is how you'll get busy. But I've been realizing as I've been thinking about how to talk to new people about this, that hustling is important and luck is just as important. Some of that luck comes from hustling. Yeah. But like those of us that made it and survived usually had moments like you're talking about with renting that space where the luck of a $200 a month space is why you could go self-employed.
Yeah.
Like if it was $1,000 a month, I'm not sure that would have been a great financial decision for your family at that time.
I would have lasted 1 month, literally. Yeah. But, and it's funny that you mentioned that because we were talking about this the other day. I said, it is so amazing how social media has impacted this industry with building clients alone. Just that pure little fact alone. Yes. I can reach so many people by one video, one reel, one clip. I can repost. I can share. I can pass around. And then I can send and be specific. I mean, I can target an audience. I can even pay to boost. There's so many options, right? So when I was 19 and brand new hairdresser, we would go to the mall. And I made business cards. Made business cards and we had one mall, in the thing. And of course the salon I worked at there, but I would go on my days off and I would stand in front of like the cool stores. I remember, Mariposa and of course Macy's, the big one, but like, I can't even think back. I remember J. Jacobs. That was my favorite store, but like, I would go in front of the coolest stores I could find, Hot Topic even. And, I'd say, hi, I'm Erica. Can I give you my card? I'm new. I would love to do your hair. I work right at the end by Penny's, in that salon. And you should come see me. And I would have to do that all day long. And then, what's funny is I was telling my daughter, who's 20 now, this is how and she's like, okay, that sounds like creepy. If somebody walked up to me and said, hi, do you want to be a model for me? come at 3:00 to my place. She's like, Mom, that's creepy. I go, but that's how we did it. We had to go and ask people, you want to come?
There was a creepy, I mean, I did an apprenticeship, so I had cutting classes every week and had to go find my own models for the cutting classes. And walking up to people on the street, and then as a male trying to walk up to females on the street and be like, hi, I'm a
Yeah.
stranger, I'd like to give you
Yeah.
my business card, you should come see me at this hair salon, I don't know what I'm doing, would you like a haircut? um like, it's like 1 out of 100 people. It was such a grind to make that work, and it's amazing that you could just toss out a
That's
post.
what we did. That's
Yeah.
what we did. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's like a group of us that are our age that were kind of like the warriors that made it.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
pounded the pavement in heels or in dress pants and,
Oh,
a shirt, tie, whatever your dress code was. But I
got
feel
it.
like being self-employed, that was really cool. I didn't wear heels when I was self-employed. So,
Yeah, exactly. Me neither, but maybe at one point.
right.
So you're working with Schwarzkopf right now, is that
I
correct?
do. Yeah,
And
I do.
and when did that gig start, or how did that come about?
Oh, so cool because, like, really, it is all who you know. No joke.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with another brand for a long time. Loved, and still love them. And I was just feeling like I needed more. Do you ever feel like that? Like, God, I love
Oh
what I do.
yes.
I just need more. And I didn't know what that more was. And I'm kind of in a period of my life where I'm feeling like I'm going to be 50 in January. So it's like I
Yep.
feel like I'm halfway over, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I still have a whole nother halfway to go. And so what
Yep.
do I want to do?
Yeah.
And I was actually with this other company. I was working in sales, so I was a brand manager on the sales end, which was fabulous. And I would still get to work with salons and the stylists, but the only way I know how to close a deal and convert people is through education, through a
Right.
demo, through let me share with you a formula, let me share with you a great coverage trick I know, or whatever. And I'm not one to, people would say, well, what's the percentage and cost of application for the, I'm like, I don't know. And I would just be like, oh, well, let me find that for you. And I'm thinking in my head, who cares? Like,
Yeah.
buy the color, mix it equal parts, put it on, don't waste, and you're going to love it, right? And so my heart has always been in education. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's where I've been most impactful. So I wanted a role in education, and there just wasn't one available. Like you said, it's very hard to get those roles, and there just wasn't one available with the company I was with. And my friend from years before, who I actually met at this former company, one day out of the blue messages me on social media and says, hey, I was thinking about you. There's a position open with our company. Would you be interested? It's in education.
Oh,
And I was like, what is it? And he's like, you'd be the regional education manager. This would be your area. You'd work with this. And it kind of looks like this. And I said, send me the link. Send me the link. So I applied. It took months. I thought, oh, they're not going to want me. There's like probably a bazillion people applying. And I kind of felt like after, 90 days, it's bye. They ghosted me. And no, they didn't. It's a process, There's so many people that did apply, but also it's a process. There's like multiple
the corporate
interviews.
process.
Yeah. And I hadn't been with a big corporation like that before. And so it was family owned, the one I was with prior. So it's a little different. But I'll never forget. I'm like literally in the car driving, and I get this phone call, and I'm like, this is Erica. And it was like, hi, we'd like to offer you the job. And I was like, yes, 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 yes,
Get
100
it.
yes. And I was so excited, so excited. But here's what was interesting is I hadn't used Schwarzkopf, like the actual color in the
Mm-hmm.
salon behind the chair, and I didn't have that like deep love like I had for my other one for it yet. And then I was like, when I interviewed, I thought I better look at the brand before I have my first interview. What if I don't like it? So I did, and I liked it, and I went ahead with the interviews, and I thought I better practice and learn while I'm waiting. And I'm like, no, they're not going to
Yeah.
call me. Never mind. I have other work to do. And then when they called me, I was like, cram session. But
Yes.
it was great. It was easy. It's very user friendly, and I had a
Yep.
lot of support. And I'm using it behind the chair now, and it's great. But I love my job. I like
Yeah.
my job a lot. And people say like, oh, you just work a lot. I mean, we all do, right? In some capacity, I feel like we're either working from home
Oh yeah.
in our domestic stuff, or we're working with our families, or we're working in our careers, or whatever. But I want to like my work,
Yeah.
and I like the people that I talk with, and I love educating. I love facilitating. I love helping others learn how to educate and facilitate and be even better. So like the mentorship thing. And I feel like sorry, it's loud. After
It's
30
okay.
years in the industry, I have some experience to share.
Yeah.
And so I like sharing that with people who are like, I want to be an educator. This is my first year, or this is my third year, and I want to, elevate myself. And I'm like, yes. I had some really good mentors in my life. I remember my very first regional education manager, oh man, she spoke so much life into me. And she was the very first person ever that wasn't related to me that was honest and real, but from the heart. And I'll never forget, I called her after this class I did, and I used to work for Redken. That was my very first gig ever. And I called her, and her name was Linda. And I was like, Linda, this class was horrible. I hated it. It didn't go well. And she's like, what happened? And I'm like, they didn't participate. They were boring. Like, I don't know. I just didn't vibe with them. And I said it differently, but that was like, in essence, what I was saying. And she said, were you nervous? I said, yeah, I was really nervous. And I don't know, it just wasn't a good class. And she's like, there's 2 reasons for you being nervous. 1, you were not prepared. And I was like, oh, why did she say that to me? And 2, you made it about you and not about them. And I went, what? And she said, when you're nervous, who are you thinking about and looking at? And I said, well, me. I want to do a good job. I need to be the one. I need to have all the answers. Me. And she's like, it's not about you. It's about them. You're going in there to help them understand the color more. Give them inspiration. Give them the tools they need to be successful behind a chair. You are helping them. You're not there for you. And I'm like, whoa. And I'll never forget that. And to this day, I still try to ask myself, like, if I'm feeling nervous, I'm like, are you grounded in the information? Probably not. Or you wouldn't need to be worried about, and then sometimes the answer's in the room, you can always ask, like, that's a great question. How would you approach that? And there it is. But also this is the best part. Like, she taught me how to understand it's not about me, it's about them. And servant, like, to be not a servant, but like to serve with your heart and to serve with your creativity and to empower others. Like, that's what makes me go, yes. Anything like that. Yeah.
I love it.
So I think it's like, that's what kept me in the industry. And as much as like, I love the idea, I had a client, she was a manager for Mercedes-Benz here locally. And she's like, Erica, please come on my team. I could really train you. You would make so much money, 6 figures in 2 years. And I'm like, what? And then I'm like, well, I could do that now if I would blah, blah, blah. And she's like, come on. And I'm like, do I have to wear heels?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. I'm like, no.
Pass. Did that already. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. But the heart thing, that's what,
it's big.
No matter what we do, I feel like the people that connect the best, we usually have that in common.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did you find your first mentors? Was it luck, or were they just around?
I kind of feel like, I always hear like, you don't pick who you mentor, they pick you. Is how I've always heard, and I believe that personally. I wanted to be them, so I would gravitate to them and I would want to work with them. Like, for instance, Linda, she was the manager and I was brand new educator, brand new in hair, brand new everything. And in fact, the only reason I even wanted to be an educator was because I didn't tell you, like, the first 4 years, when I was doing all that, figuring out, like, from the chain to the independent and that little rent space, I was just cutting. And I would always ask, like, do you color? And I would say no. And the truth is, because I didn't know how. At the chain place, I had an experience where somebody with really light hair, blonde, comes in and she said this exact phrase, I want to be medium ash brown. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I go to the back and I looked for the box that said medium ash brown, and it was like a level 7 ash. And I remember in beauty school, you mix equal parts, you put it on, no problem, forget about it. And that's what I did. And when I went to rinse her, she was like martini olive green. And I thought, well, I remember there's this word like oxidize or something. Maybe it'll change once the water hits it. I don't know. I was making up all these stories. And it didn't change, and my eyes were like, and I remember at the time I told my manager of this place, I was like, oh my God, and she's like, instead of saying like, okay, we have a learning opportunity, I'm going to share with you how to correct this right now. She's like, no, she said, oh my God, you turned your client green. So the lady literally like sits up with all the water still. And I'm like, wait, she runs to the mirror and she's like cussing me out. And that was the first time I wanted to quit. And I remember I went home. I got in trouble. Like, I got written up. I had a plan of action. I don't know what the plan was. There never was a plan. I got sent home because I messed up. So I said, to my husband at the time, I was like, I don't want to color. I don't even think I should do hair. And he convinced me not to quit. But he's like, well, don't color then. So I didn't for 4 years. But it was here's where I love sales, like, and people who take their salon accounts, like, with their heart. Remember, it's about like the salons and the people. She came in and she's like, she worked with, I think at the time it was Jacob Miller. And, they got bought out by Mayleys and then Salon Centric. But she comes in and she says, where's your color? What do you use for color? I said, oh, I don't color. I'm so busy with haircuts. That's all I do is design. And she's like, you're missing out on a great opportunity. And in my heart, I'm like, I don't know how. But I didn't want my pride, And I was like 22 and I was like, or 23. I was like, I don't have time for color. And then she looked at me and she's like, Erica, we're having a class. I really think you should color. And then finally I'm like, okay, I don't know how. And I told her the story. And she said, come to the class. I said, no, because there's going to be other salon people there and they'll know. And I don't want nobody talking about me. Like, I was insecure. And she said, I'll go with you. Okay, first of all, I didn't know she had to be there anyway. But she made me feel special was the point. And she said, I'll go with you. Dude, she picked me up. I met her at the salon. She picked me up. We went to the class. She introduced me to the educator. And I was so like nervous. And she's like, I'll sit with you. You got this. And they answered my questions. And then at the end, she like gave me a bunch of samples and some swag. And then she touched base. She followed up. And then she brought a brand manager. I didn't know they were detailing. I didn't know that world. I just thought I was special. She comes in my salon with this big corporate person. And she's like, this is Erica. They brought me more samples. They talked to me about color. I bought my first intro. And I went to every class, Liam. Every class. She'd give me a flyer. If it was free, I was at it. I went to every class. I drove from the Dalles to Portland, which is just like an hour, every other Monday to go take the same exact intro class. It was an intro class. And the educator finally one day goes, Erica, you don't have to keep coming to this class. Like, you got the info. Like, you're great with your answers. I go, no, I learn something new every time. I have to be here. She's like, you should just educate. And I go, oh, I don't know how. She goes, oh, yeah, you actually are already. Like, but with your participation and your input. And I went to a new hire training and I'm still here. So that's the impactful part that like really helped, like, change the trajectory of where I was going. Because, I just thought education was about light, smoke, and the platform artist at the hair show, right? And the cool person doing the model on stage. They're so cool. Like, I'm not that cool. I'm never going to be there.
No.
And that's part of it. That's the entertainment piece, right? And you need that. And there are cool people that do that. But everything that leads up to that one moment where those cool people are up on stage, there's so many things that happen before and after and behind the scenes and, paying it forward and just the mentorship that comes with that. So I wanted to be like them. And so I gravitated to my REM and I wanted to be like her because she was professional. She was beautiful. She had a good income. I went to her house before and I remember saying, wow, what does your husband do? And she looked at me, she goes, I hate that question. This is my house and I married my husband and I own this home. He moved in with me. And she checked me and I was like, I didn't know that was possible,
Yeah.
And and I remember the educators that I wanted to be like. I would like try to sit by them or around them. I would introduce myself. I would have to just remember, like, it's okay if they think you're corny, just go up and say hi. So I'd be like, hi, I'm Erica Garza. I'm from Pasco. And then when, the biggest compliment is when you're at a show or something big and they're passing by and they actually see you and wave and they're like, oh my God, they remembered me. And as someone young, getting remembered, like, so I'd want to be like them. And then I would try to just like, not just mimic their behavior, but like find out like the why behind what they're doing, like the Redken mentors that I had back in the day, there were some that I connected with and some I didn't. So the ones I connected with, I noticed that they were really patient. They were soft-spoken. They were very encouraging. They weren't just like, you're doing it wrong. No, they would come up and they'd be like, can I coach you? And I'd be like, sure, that's why I'm here. And I'll never forget, there was an artist. She's still an educator. She's in New York. Her name's Lori Zabel. She's still with Redken. Lori Zabel taught me how to do a blowout. I didn't know how to blow dry with a brush. And I'm a Redken artist, embarrassed, and I'm just fast drying. And then I thought, oh, smooth it with the flat iron. She's like, no. Where's your brushes? And I go, I don't know how, Lori.
Oh,
And she's like, okay, I'm going to show you. And then I would practice in front of her and my hand shaking. And she's like, don't wimp out on the ends. You're wimping out on the ends. Go
yeah.
follow through. And she
Finish it.
stayed with me. She sat with me for an hour while I blow dried a mannequin.
That's
And nobody,
amazing.
who does that? Especially when you're Lori Zabel. But she did. And it's people like that
Yeah.
who impacted me, Sam Villa, watching him,
Yeah.
assisting, being in the background as either an attendee or as a, artist assisting a major artist. He was so kind and patient, and it was never about ego when he was working with us. I never had that experience with him. He's great. There's so many artists that I wanted to be like, and so I would just try and copy and do what they do. And I would
Right.
remember how I felt when they'd wave, or how I felt when they say, "Hey, do you need help? I can help you. Let me show you a better way
Yeah.
or another way."
So you
Verbiage,
want to
all
be
that.
that for people. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
with you.
yeah.
I know education. I mean, yeah. Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, I never delved into coloring the way I would have liked to. I never understood the people who were around to teach me. I didn't know what anyone was talking about. I never got it. I heard somebody interviewed in a podcast once and they said they ended up going to this place for a class and somebody managed to teach them color. It was more through math. Like they found a different
Huh?
way to teach them color and it worked for
Okay.
their brain. I'm like, I wish I'd found that person. I wish
Oh,
I'd found, because
yeah.
it never clicked for me. Like I know what underlying pigment is. I understand, this color neutralizes that color. I understand those things, but I could never look at a head and work that formula out. Most of
Oh,
my coloring was based on memorization of, well, last time I did this on that type of person, this happened, and not
yeah,
a genuine understanding of what it was that took place and how to replicate that on someone with a different underlying pigment. Even though,
yeah.
again, I understand, this cuts that. I never found the right type of education that worked in my worked for my brain, and I had a tendency. I was talking about the ADHD thing. Turns out what I would do, the masking that I learned to do was I would feel bad that I didn't understand because I knew this person knew what they were talking about. So I would make sure they felt like the best educator in the world so that we could get past, so we could just move on. So it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to use some techniques to give you the impression that I learned it and make you feel good about yourself so we can get to the next part. Let's just move on. Which is
Totally.
not a great way to learn. It's not actually learning, it turns out. It's just
No,
coping.
but it's kind of that survival. Like I'm just
Yeah.
go ahead and do this so we can
Yes.
move forward.
So I'm very pleased that there are people in this world that have someone like you to educate.
Ah, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
What
No,
would you
it's
what would
true.
you say to a new like a recently self-employed hairdresser that wants to find some mentors? What would you tell them to do?
Ah, write a message
Yeah.
and find the people that you admire on social media first. If that's where, I mean, I always ask, like, because we didn't have social media, so I had to do it
Yeah.
on people I had actually met or paid to go
Mhm.
see. Like, oh, so and so's doing a class in Seattle. Oh, I want a ticket. I'm going. I love them. And it was only because I had seen them. So now with social media, if anybody's new and they're following people that they really admire and love, hair celebrities or local people or just anybody they connect with, I write a message. Start by writing a message and hitting send, because I get those sometimes. I get messages from people I've never met, have no idea who they are, but because of social media, we've connected and we're in the same industry. And it's it's beautiful to have the courage to write the message. And then there's always that thought, like, what if they don't see it, or what if they don't have time for me? Okay, well, then they didn't see it and they don't have time. But for the people who do, open it and read it and write back, it's worth it, because they can give you some great pieces to, like, hang on to and move
Yep.
forward with. For instance, like, hey, thanks for this message. I always say, I thank the person for taking the time to message me. It's like, wow, like, I'm here. What can I do? And they'll be like, what do you love about Schwarzkopf? And I share with them, like, hey, I'm pretty new to the brand too. So as a new person looking at it, I know it looks really big, but it's beautifully categorized. It's very user friendly. There's some really great formulas. Here's a few of my favorite. I give them recipes. Try this on someone. I send them pictures. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, technology is so awesome. You can literally just send everything right then. And I take advantage of that because I know what it is to not have that, right?
Yeah.
And so I would really just encourage them, write a message. Start with a hi, it's me, hi. And maybe even like when you're at an event, like if you're at a class or you're at an event and you see someone that you really, really admire and you love how they work and you want to know more. If I mean, oftentimes those people are really busy and they don't have the time to stop and chat. But when they do, and you see them interacting, maybe like at the after party or something, go and say hi.
Yeah.
Like we're all people. And we're all here for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Go and say hi. My name's Erica. I was in your class earlier today at 2:00, and thank you because I always have a problem with my foil slipping, and that technique you shared, that's really going to help me behind the chair. Like we love hearing that because it,
Yeah.
it validates us and our information. Because you know what we think. I know you know this. Like, what if these attendees don't want to hear this? What if this doesn't help them? What if this is dated information and they don't need it?
Yes.
What if,
Yes.
what if they don't like me? What if I
Mm-hmm.
don't look good on there? Oh, all these but it's not about me, it's about them. So when they come up and share those, like, hey, I really love that technique you passed on that you learned from someone else, or that formula that you shared on the swatches helped me see it.
Yeah.
Like the head sheets, thank you for the head sheet. Like that was awesome. I needed that because I didn't know how you section that model. When we talk like that and people have the courage to walk up to the person and say, hey, hi, we love that. We love that. And it's not about like it's not for the ego or the big head. That's not at all what I mean. It's just for like building new relationships, and getting in touch and keeping in touch, staying in touch. And I would really just say, write the message, go say hi, start there. And the people that stay in contact with you, those are your mentors.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that care about you. The ones that say, hey, how did that turn out? Oh, wow, you remember that I messaged you. It turned out great. Or didn't turn out so good. I had to redo it. But I learned this and this and this,
Yeah.
honesty and all that. I feel like the people that keep in touch are the ones that really can offer you the most to grow in your career.
Yeah.
And I had people like that. And I still love them to this day,
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I like more than helping someone succeed. That's honestly why when Stephen and I started Salon Monster, we built it for me to begin with.
Yeah.
And then it was just about wanting to help other people offload some of the work that they have to do. When I first left the salon I did my apprenticeship at, I went to a true chair rental, almost booth rental, like there's no receptionist, nobody handles
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah. You do your
and
own towels,
all
your
of
own
it.
back bar. Yep. Yep.
And I remember I'm sitting there trying to do hair, and my phone keeps ringing. This is it's not before text messaging, but nobody did text message at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and,
Especially for
and
professional purposes, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it just took up too much time. I'm like, this can't be. There has to be a better way than this. This seems like uh, I don't like taking time away from my clients. One of the people I apprenticed under, he was not into book backs. He was not into. He came from a salon. The first salon he worked at was a really big deal salon at the time, and he
Mhm.
had an assistant. And this was the type of place where he'd do a consultation, he'd wrap a perm, and then he didn't see that person again until he was finishing it at the very
Oh,
end.
so it's
They'd be,
departmentalized.
yes,
Yeah.
offloaded people, different people. And so
Yeah.
when I met him, he had a few big rules. Never turn your client away from the mirror. Um, don't take people in between. Like you're not just doing their hair, you're there to be with them, to walk them through it, to spend time with
Wow.
them. And so his customers loved and adored him. They still do. Yeah.
I bet. No, that's
Yeah.
huge because, you know, a lot of us
Mm-hmm.
think, well, how do I make money if I don't double book?
Yeah.
That's the system I learned on double booking. Like,
Yes.
let's go, let's move it. Yeah.
Yes.
But that's
But
a beautiful concept to really focus on that one client,
yeah,
and
it was
charge
all about
accordingly.
service.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he charged accordingly at the time. Later on, he got
Good
worse
for
at it,
him.
but he did a good job at that point.
Good.
Um, yeah. Yeah. If somebody came up to you and said, "I'm interested in getting into hair, how do you think I should start?" What's your typical suggestion?
Oh, I'd say absolutely you have to do it. If your heart is telling you to do it, you have to do it. So I always find out like what is your like in your area, what schools do you have? What learning centers can you go to? Sometimes a small town like local beauty college where you're, putting rollers in the hair and then that's it. And then other times like there are some really cool academies and apprenticeship programs afterwards. So I always find out what area are you in? And then I'll Google if I have to real quick to find out what they have, and then I'll even make suggestions. And sometimes too, like this is real talk because this was me in my life financially. There are great academies that do not have state funded, financial aid. So I say like, if you need a financial aid school, there's an option here in your hometown. Like I went to one of those too. And just because you go to the not cool academy or the state funded academy does not mean you're not going to be grounded. And that's why ongoing education, link with a brand, link with your sales rep, find out where the classes are, go to the stores and ask them, where's the class? When's your next class? Where's the flyer where I can look and see the dates online? You don't even have to go to the store. See, I'm so old. Get online and look for education, because that's what, after you graduate beauty school, I feel like that's where the learning begins.
Absolutely.
You get your fundamentals, you learn about your barbicide, your measure, all the state rules. You do that, and that's important. There's definitely a place for that. But for the rest of your life in your career, ongoing education and some type of mentorship from someone in the industry would be such a helpful bonus. So I would start by saying, what kind of schools are around you in your area? And do you need financial aid ones? Can you afford an academy? Like whatever you can do. Yep. And then afterwards, I never recommend just cold turkey jumping in like your partner did. No. Just that's too hard for me.
Oh,
but
it's
I would
too hard
say
for most people.
Like, look, a great resource is the sales consultants because they know every salon in the area, right? Yes. So I would say find out in your area who has an apprenticeship program, because chances are there's one or two commission salons that do, and it's becoming more and more like common now to find a good apprenticeship program. And I would say start there. It's not glamorous, but it's not bad. It's actually super fundamental, and I feel like that part of your journey is going to be the one you always go back to and reference and be grateful for it. I didn't have that. I wish I would have, but try to find that. And then worst case scenario, if you don't have that, I always recommend commission salon first because you don't have to provide your own product. Yep. You use what they provide. You learn. You get free education in salon education, because half the time the owner is bringing in the educator based off rewards or whatever, and you get to benefit from that. So your education at least is going to be free, ongoing. You get to have your clients given to you. You don't have to stand in the mall and recruit.
It helps.
Yeah. And you learn systems, and then you learn how about culture and salon life with other people, and you can actually even find mentors in your own network if you have a place like that. And then if it's not a good fit, you find another one. Yeah. And you just keep looking for your home until you find where you're grounded. And always start with commission salons if you can. Then if your dream is to be an independent, business owner or a studio suite owner or just a stylist in a network with other independents, that's cool too. So I feel like you really need to have the experience first, though, in a commission setting, so you understand our culture. We talk different, we act different, we are different. And it's good to have somebody helping you along the way. And then when you feel like I got this and I can do this, go do it. Yeah. Go do it. And if you're like, I love this environment, why would I ever leave? There you go. You stay. So either way, you find your home where you belong.
In fact, my friend, I told her this at the beginning. The luck that she has is, I was just saying, why don't you just come use my days off to do models and stuff and practice. So I actually just gave it to the chair for free for 6 months, which is why that was possible. I wasn't using it. And because I focus on Salon Monster as well as doing hair, but I still have a clientele 2 days a week. Yeah. I'm aware that if things continue to grow, I'm not going to be able to do as much hair. And I didn't want to just say, good luck. I wanted to say, hey, I've got this person who comes from the service industry. She comes from restaurants before this.
Okay.
So she has the skill set. I can't teach you how to be good with people. I can teach you how to be better with people, but you either already know how to talk to people or you don't to a
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
Um,
No, 100%. I
and
believe that.
so she rents this for 3 days a week, works at a barbershop 2 days a week. And I had told her she's picking the hard route. Like if you go right into chair rental, you're missing a bunch of things. You're missing a certain amount of education. You're missing. I even noticed when we both do the laundry, we take it home. We don't have it here, and
Yeah.
I even noticed when she's rolling the towels, like, well, that's a little bit loose. That doesn't that's not as clean as I would like to see it. Like that's right. When you work at a commission salon, there's all these systems that are in place
Yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
no, it's done exactly like this 1,000 times in a row. Do it over and over and over again, and then you'll get it.
I
So yeah,
totally, yeah.
yeah,
Foils, cutting foils. The
yes,
best place you want to be the best foil cutter of your life, and that helps when you're independent. Cut foils for another artist or
yeah,
another stylist. When you're the assistant,
yeah,
in any capacity, like whether you're in education and you're assisting a grand artist from the stage, or you're in the salon assisting and it's your second week, cutting foils. That's one system, like over and over, and you'd be like, oh my god, if I have to cut another foil, it'll be too
yep,
soon. But you
yes,
know, when you're on your own and you have a color placement come in and you're like, she's got fringe, she's got multiple lengths, she's got long, I need different size foils and I'm going to place them this way and that way. Cutting foils, I got it. And I
yeah,
felt so good. I remember I'm like, I hate cutting foils. I'm not the foil servant. I was so glad that I learned
yes,
the why behind a long foil, a narrow foil,
yes.
a wide short foil, a big foil. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
have
and
my
it's,
foils.
I talk to my like 8-year-old regularly about this. Not everything's for you to like. Like, not everything is for you
Yeah.
to enjoy. It's not all built for your personal entertainment. There's reasons that are hard to understand at a certain point in life why you do things a certain way. Um, 8 is
True.
probably a young age to try and convince them of that, but I do my best.
Keep saying
Yeah.
that, because
Yeah.
somewhere along the line I think we were lied to that everything in life is going to be enjoyable and
Oh,
fantastic,
it
and
is
if it's
not.
not, the world
Mm-mm.
is ending, right? And I'm like, in hair and in our world, you got to have like some thick skin,
Yeah.
sometimes clients aren't the nicest, or
Oof.
sometimes color doesn't happen the way you thought it was gonna, and
Yeah.
user error, whatever,
Absolutely.
there's lots of things, but at the end of the day, I think too, if I could say this to somebody starting out, you're just, please plan into your day that you're going to get frustrated, and
Yeah.
please understand that it is normal to feel like I suck.
Yeah.
I can't compete. The other Instagram hair looks so much better than mine. Those thoughts are going to flood your head. They're
Yep.
never going to leave, but you don't have to believe them.
Yep.
And worst case scenario, even if they're true, okay, what do I need to work on? Where do I need to begin? Where do I
Yep.
start? And where do I go? And I know, I love this saying that YouTube is not cosmetology school. Like, I love that because it's true.
No.
But on the same token, too, like, for instance, like the company I work for, Schwarzkopf, they have a whole YouTube page. And there's so much
That's
education on
amazing.
there and little bites. And then other people that you admire. Like, I know I watch other salon owners, even though they're not with my brand. That has nothing to do with it. Like, they're amazing. I like to watch them cut and design and style.
Oh,
And what did they do with the curling iron? And how did he
I
cut her
could watch
bangs like
other
that?
people. I could
Yes.
watch haircut videos to the end of time. If I
Yeah.
love process, like I just love process. And if I can
Yeah.
watch somebody else's process, oh my goodness, that's the best. That's the best. I do it all day
Yeah,
long.
and work on it. And you know what's cool? I love this. I actually learned this from younger stylists who, I went into the salon last week in Colorado, and we were doing a haircutting class, and that's not my strength. Cutting is not my strength. Like, I've been a colorist like lover since day one, but cutting, I get like, let me just double check. And
Hmm.
he had a tripod in front of his station, and he records every single haircut, and like he'll hit like time lapse or slow mo, or he'll do like different ones. And I said, oh, is that, so you have content for social media? He goes, yeah, but the real reason why I started recording is because at night when I'm sitting, like, I used to just sit and eat and like watch Netflix and chill. He goes, now I sit and I eat, but I watch my video and I'll slow it down, and
Yeah.
I watch my finger angle and my elevation and my positioning and how ergonomically am I holding my palm to palm, or am I And I'm like, you do? And he's like, yeah, I've 4 years in the industry and I'm already having carpal tunnel issues. So if I want to keep my working, I have to be aware of my body position at all times.
Yeah.
And he goes, so I changed my tools. They're ergonomically friendly. I changed it. And he started sharing with me. And I was like, just like blown away.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to record myself more and watch myself to improve. Yeah.
All athletes watch film. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All athletes watch film of themselves afterwards. You can't know what you're doing wrong in the moment like you can when you watch yourself. You're like, oh my goodness, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this over and over again?
Or what do we say?
Move the chair up. Why are my elbows down here? Why aren't they up here?
Yeah.
All those things. Yeah, I love it. Well, I'm cognizant of your time.
Thank
you. I know we've spent an hour here, and I know you probably have 1,000 things to do.
And you as well, but I enjoyed connecting with you. This was the best conversation. Thank you.
I love it. Yeah, thank you.
I love you too.
Are you based out of Seattle right now?
Yeah, that's where I live.
Yeah.
When I'm home, that's where I'm home.
Okay, fantastic. All right,
yes.
I'm going to come down and visit at some point.
You better, because Canada and Seattle are neighbors. Yeah, Canada and Seattle.
Well, I'm in Vancouver, so I'm, I think 3 or 4 hour drive. Yeah.
Perfect. We'll have coffee. Got to do that.
I love it.
So.